Unmute. Now, okay. What? Is what? Happy birthday, Maddie. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And it's cool because the week is almost over. This is the last full day of the week. Remember, tomorrow we're going to have those really short classes, right, Katie? The short classes, they're like 37 minutes. So we will take our quiz and then we will play the first Jeopardy game of the year and be done. Okay, so this is the day we're supposed to finish summarizing chapter 4 since y'all actually did the homework for chapter 4. So that is the neuter gender of the second declension, which we have right here. We already talked about this a little bit. You guys have to try to translate these words last night, whether you are ready to or not. But the only real difference from the second declension masculine, which is that, are the bolded endings. So the UM right here is going to be UM instead of US, like in this word donum, doni, gift. You can tell it's neuter second just by looking at the nominative. And then the nominative plural gets an A, which is really weird, right? So our feminine singular nominatives end in just A, but if it's a neuter noun in the second declension, it's going to have the A ending in the plural spot, which is pretty confusing, kind of. And then it can also have it in the accusative. So the whole thing with the neuter, which only exists in the second declension right now, is that the nominative is always the same as the accusative, which is kind of weird. So you have to play this game of differentiating it from whether it's the subject or the direct object, which isn't the coolest thing to do, but there you go. How do I make, okay, there we go. Okay, so let's see here. All right, neuter nouns. These are all the neuter nouns right now. So that's what chapter 4 adds to the mix, are neuter nouns basically. So we have basium for kiss, that like never comes up. It comes up in this homework assignment and then we never see that word again. Bellum is war. And you're going to mix up bellum with the word beautiful, because the word beautiful, if it's modifying a word that ends in um, it's going to look identical, which is kind of crazy. Concilium means plan. Donum is gift. Exidium is destruction. Officium is duty, like office. Otium is peace or leisure. Periculum is danger. Isn't that Gavin's favorite word? And remedium is cure. Oh, yeah, Gavin's not in this class. Okay, so I'm going to walk around now and see that you have done 90% of this and give you your points. But who wants to read number 1? What? Don't do that. Also, remember, guys, if you feel limited by the space you're given to translate, you did all 10, I mean 13. You can like whip out a loose leaf and write them on the loose leaf and just use the worksheet itself to like take notes. Oh, you did the ones you didn't do last year. Okay, cool. I did say that was an option. But yeah, like if you feel like you're like cramming everything into that space, then go ahead and use. Oh, some people did all 13. Kind of incredible. All right, everyone has it. Good job. I'm gonna take it. That's because I gave it to you 4 days early, and y'all are good students. Who can read this in Latin? Anyone? And you don't have to have, just because you're reading it does not mean that you are like saying that you have the right translation. That's not what that means. And like, don't worry about that. Natalie, you want to read it in Latin, please? Very good. So what did you come up with for this?
Delay is often cure for war, O Rome.
Very good. And so it's more like O Romans, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, that's exactly right. Other than that, person?
I had a bit of a different translation.
Okay.
I had delay is often a remedy for war.
The what is often?
Delay is often
Delay.
a remedy.
So often here, that can go anywhere in your translation. Adverbs are really chilled out in Latin. Not only do they never really change from how they look like all the time, but when you translate your Latin, you can kind of choose where you place your adverb. They tend to be next to the verb in English and in Latin. It's right next to the verb here. But yeah, you can put saife or often in all sorts of places. Real quick, so Roma, the place, is a first declension noun. Roma, Romi, that's Rome, as in the city or the empire. But a Roman person is a Romanus, or this is an adjective meaning Roman. So when we make this plural Romani, that's actually vocative. It's this guy down here, this I that you can see poking up on the verb chart. So that's one little thing. And I do have color coding now. But we need to talk about this verb here, because that's another thing in chapter 4 that they talk about. There's this verb that's very irregular, and we need to have a moment for this weird verb. Okay, my PowerPoint's not. Is it frozen or? Okay, I just have to click. There we go. Okay, sometimes you have to like wake it up. But so sum esse here, I'm gonna make it bigger. Sum esse means, this is a verb that means to be. So sum means I am, the infinitive is to be. The reason they wait to give it to us in chapter 4 is because it's irregular. It's just a really weird verb. They give us est all the way in like 1 or 2, but they just give us est, which is really weird. It's a third person singular form of it. But the reason this verb is weird is because it's weird in English too. You guys probably didn't realize you were conjugating the verb to be so often, but every time we go to use this verb, we change it like a lot. So not only does it change in Latin a lot, it changes in English a lot. But like, check this out. Like, we don't have any verbs yet where the first part of it is changing. It goes from starting from an S and not ending in O like we want it to in first person, to starting with an E, and then going back to starting with an S, then starting with an E, and starting with an S. That's really weird. That's not normal. Almost no Latin verbs do that. So that's just the thing about sum esse. But then look at the English, guys. Like, look how much it changes. So when it's first person singular, we don't say I be, right? That sounds crazy. So be becomes am in the first person singular. That's something weird about English. It's not even a Latin thing. That's something weird about English, right? The English word to be. Second person, we change it to are, because we don't say you be or you am. We say you are. Then it changes to is for third person. It is. And then on the plural side, it's just are. We are, y'all are, they are. Y'all kind of follow that? That is like the third grammar summary that you kind of need to be aware of right now. So on the back of your vocabulary, you have the noun chart with first and second declension. You have the verb chart, OST must assent. And then this is the third piece of information that is very much like a grammatical thing you need to kind of start to get used to. But I don't expect you to memorize it, just like all the other 2 grammar charts that we have. The concept behind those 3 charts on the bottom of your vocab summary, you don't have to know how to, you don't have to memorize them yet. You just need to know how to like use those. But y'all kind of get that? It's kind of weird, right? So what person is est then up here? First, second, or third, anyone? First, second, or third, est. And don't get it mixed up with et. Et is and, est is. Carson?
That's the first and best. Third person.
Yeah, it's third person, right? It's this guy right here. So it takes a he, she, or it. Do we have a he, she, or it in the sentence, Carson? Seems like Natalie thinks we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what?
Roman.
Not Roman. So yeah, it's easy to think that Romans is a subject, but Romans is plural. Has that long I. I'm gonna set this down. Also, whenever you see like this big old capitalized O, that means it's like a someone is being addressed. They should have put quotations around this whole thing, honestly, because this is like somebody talking to a bunch of Romans. So at the end of what they're saying, they're saying, "Oh, Romans." But when I say, "Do we have a he, she, or it for est?" Another way of saying that, which is a better way of saying it, is, "What is our subject? Do we have a nominative subject?" Spelled out, Natalie. Yeah, it's mora, exactly. Right? So I color code things a lot, but I'm not going to color code subjects. I'm going to leave those just black. So just the first 3 words, if you go left to right, is already delay, often is, right? That's just a vocab thing. Delay, often is. So in that way, it was good that this is a good sentence to start the homework with, because we're kind of going left to right, which is actually rare. We don't do that a lot in Latin, right? We're often having to mix things all over the place, and that's what makes translating so weird. But then remedium. You don't need to know this term. Don't let me bog you down with my TMI this week. There is way too much information probably at this point. But now we're caught up, right? This is the chapter 4 homework. We did a chapter a day this week, which is crazy. But so now, like, as of today, y'all are caught up kind of with all 4 of the first 4 chapters. And now we'll mess around with those chapters for another week until we're used to them. And we'll start to introduce chapter 5 at the end of next week. So, but anyway, this is a predicate nominative, which just means like when sum esse is happening in a sentence, that verb does not take a direct object, okay? If I am a teacher, in that sentence, teacher is not the direct object. You can verb a teacher and make them a direct object if you accuse the teacher of being a direct object, or if you talk, Not talk to people. Anyway, when something is something, that second something is not a direct object. Does that make sense, or did I just put that so horribly that no one followed it? You didn't follow it? Yeah, I don't blame you. So most of our verbs take direct objects, right? I eat a sandwich. I praise the student. I see the farmer. All of those sentences had a direct object at the end because of the verb. But this verb sum esse, not only is it a wacky verb in Latin and English, it just doesn't take a direct object. Instead, it takes this thing called predicate nominative. All right, just picture that it's like an equal sign. So like delay often equals remedy. So anyway, I'm just saying, even though that looks like that could be accusative, it's not. It's just nominative. It's a predicate nominative. It's a neuter noun. That's why it looks like it could be a subject or a direct object. It's not a direct object because to be does not take a direct object. Okay, what is the case of belly, though? That's the only time we're actually, so mora was a nominative subject, sype is an adverb, est is a verb that agrees with mora. Remedium is this thing called a predicate nominative. And then what is belly, though? Maybe that's not actually nominative. It's a noun, it's from bellum, belly, which means bore. And what case do you think it is? With that long I, it's basically either, genitive singular or nominative plural. People really forget their water bottles. I don't really bring them, I do that too. Which one is it? Is it possessive, genitive singular, or nominative plural subject? Anyone? Let's see, only Natalie and Carson know? What do you think it is, Kaylin? Is it another subject, or is it possessive of the word it's next to, of the noun? Yeah, because we already have a subject, right? So that's as much that we have to do in terms of figuring out what belly is. So it must be genitive. I fall asleep again? Weird. Okay, so it's genitive. It is possessive of what, anyone? Carson?
Belly.
But belly is possessive. So it's possessive of a what? It has to be possessive of another noun that's usually right next to it, either to the left or the right. Usually to the left. What is it possessive of? Natalie?
Maybe.
Huh?
Oh.
Nope. Natalie? Yeah, remedium. Good. Yeah. So that's why we're saying it is delay often is the cure of war. Are they? Let's see. I really got to figure out how to. Did we lose? Oh, see, why do I have to admit them? That's so annoying. All right. I mean, anyway, that's annoying about Zoom. It's not annoying about the students trying to join. Okay. So good. Yeah, it's possessive. Okay. This is typical, and you had no reason to know this, but usually genitives are to the right of the word they're possessive of. That's why it's going to be is the remedy of war. Y'all see this? Isn't this crazy that I have to stop and admit each person? That's so weird.
I know how to change it.
How? Well, okay, can you please remind me tomorrow? Well, yeah, tomorrow this class is starting at a different time. But anyway, thank you for potentially doing that one day. But anyway, so it's the remedy of war, okay? Because we whip out of. Once we realize something's genitive, we whip out the preposition of. What's the other way that we could do this? Instead of the remedy of war, what's the other way we could do this? We're about to have to do it pretty soon. You're a little distracted. What's the other way to translate a genitive? We can use the preposition of, or we can use a blank s. Anyone? Okay. Yeah, so we could say delay often is war's remedy. War apostrophe s remedy. Does that make sense? And y'all should be taking a crazy amount of notes right now. If you're just sitting back chilling, that's really weird. You should be labeling in the same way that I am. So sometimes that involves taking out a second piece of paper if you're kind of out of space. But you should write like GEN over belly to say that is genitive. And then you can draw the same arrows that I draw for genitive nouns. You should draw those as well. You should have taken a note about predicate nominative. I know it's early in the morning, but really need to be proactive or else you're going to be bored, you're going to be sleepy, you're not going to be actually absorbing things. So delay often is the remedy of war. And then O Romans, they just threw that in there just because they wanted a little more spice in the sentence. That's evocative, that O Romans, okay? That's evocative, so I don't even put it down in the color coding thing in the bottom, but I'll make vocatives this orangish color from now on. So Romans are being addressed. That's all that's happening here. Like I said, they should have put quotations around this whole thing to make it seem like this very much was dialogue, because that's what it's supposed to be, apparently. Okay, any questions on this one? Raise your hand if A, you didn't come to my advisement to work on this. B, you didn't take Latin last year. C, you still did pretty well on this. Anybody fall into that category? What grades you took me last year? So I'm asking about brand new kids who actually did well with it, who also didn't come to get help. I want people to get help. That's all. You did pretty well on it. Nice. And you follow that growth category. Nice. But yeah, like please do come see me anytime you want help. But that was just me saying like, what is it like to be a student right now, first year? And I didn't still get help. So only one person said that. Though most everyone in here has had a year of Latin. So, all right, who can read number 2? Yeah, like what is it again? Discuss. There's only 2 or 3 kids who are on year 1. How many? It's you, and you. Is that it? Okay. So everyone around you should be able to help you in student advisement if you have any help. By the way, Carson. Where is y'all student advisement, Miss Boyd?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and read this, Carson.
Palki, Viram, OTM, 28, Aben.
Good. What did you get for this, Carson?
I got men will hear little.
Men will have little peace.
Here.
Sorry, I got distracted by Alora, who only has her homework up. So say it one more time, Carson.
Men will have little.
So we don't have the word men in here. What's your name again? You today? You today have real what? So other than unemployment, I think I know why that might have happened. Did you use like Wiktionary or a dictionary or something? That's good. Interesting. Okay, so I guess you can translate OTM as unemployment. Our book tells us OTM is what though? Because otherwise you're exactly correct. So good job. Otherwise OTM should be what's your name again? Jake, I knew that. What did you get for or this the whole thing or OTM?
I got a few have real pieces.
Good, yeah. So peace or leisure time. That's what the vocab says. But again, it's like that. I know that Wiktionary did say that, so you're not wrong. Our book just gives us a limited definition. Yeah, OTM is peace as in leisure time. Because the other word for peace in Latin is pax, like pax. And then neg OTM is business. So the opposite of business is sometimes considered unemployment. So that's where you got that from. Not really incorrect at all. But anyway, so this is the one I kind of prepped you guys for by saying that sometimes what are subjects? Sometimes what part of speech can actually function as subjects? Anyone? Person?
Noun.
Yeah, well, so nouns usually.
No, verb. The endings of verbs will function sometimes with nouns.
That's true too. Sometimes like our subject basically lives inside of the ending of a first or second person verb. But remember that like the good die young example I gave? The good die young. What was I trying to illustrate by that, Kaylin?
Sometimes adjectives.
Yeah. Sometimes adjectives can be subjects. So what is our adjective subject here, anyone? Jake?
Oh, it does matter.
Not you? Okay. Well, what's our adjective subject? I mean, both Jake and your name was. What's your name again? The red shirt. Nathan. Thank you. Okay, it's the duplicates where when I have like multiple Nathans or Aidens, those are the ones I'm having kind of trouble with. What, Jake? I guess you can go get that. So it's few. It's Palki here, okay? And how do we confirm that Palki is actually the subject? It takes a couple steps. So, A, it's the first word in the sentence, and I even gave y'all the hint that one of your homework sentences would have an adjective as a subject. It means few, right? And we look at that ending, it's a long I. So it's either possessive, which should be kind of weird for an adjective to be possessive all by itself, unless it was like next to another possessive noun, and it's modifying that noun. So I already don't think it's genitive. I think it must actually be the subject. It must be nominative. How do I confirm that? I look at the verb, which is, it was already on the screen, but what person and number was the verb, Macy? Is it first, second, or third person? And this is the verb right here, right? To have. And is it first, second, or third person here? Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Let's see, while she looks, Nathan, tell me what the person is. Is it first, second, or third? Yeah, it's third person. And Macy, is it third singular or plural?
Plural.
Yeah, good, because it's in T instead of T, right? Yeah, exactly. So it needs a plural subject. Guess what? If Palki was a subject, it's plural, so it agrees with our verb. So that can work. And then we see Verum, and we think, okay, Verum's doing something different than Palki because it has a different ending. Maddie, I know it's your birthday, but what do you think Verum's doing? It's an adjective. Is it modifying something here? And if so, what is it?
I don't know.
I bet you do know. Just because it's your.
Probably do, which is not a.
All right, since it is your birthday, Grace.
Otium?
Yeah, it's probably going with otium, and together Verum and otium, since they have those same UN endings, maybe they're doing what? They're being the what of the sentence? Not the indirect, just the. Yeah, good. The direct object. Okay, so Verum and otium are the direct objects. You would have just kind of had to feel it out and look at those UN endings. Because otium could have been the nominative. Like technically it could have been the nominative, but it wouldn't have agreed with the verb if it was. Because it's a neuter nominative, it can end in in the nominative. But then it wouldn't agree with the verb. The verb is plural, otium is just singular. So there's really nothing else that otium can be except the direct object. And Verum is going, like, y'all understand why Verum is going along with this. Laura, you gotta look forward, okay? You're being like so hyper. It's like 8 a.m. in the morning. What's happening? Calm down. This is the last full day of the week. I know y'all can get through this.
Tomorrow's Friday.
I know, but this is the last full day of the week because Friday is a half day. Y'all have short classes, so that's the reason I'm giving Laura to help facilitate everyone else being able to pay attention. Because right now you're distracting the entire class, you and Maddie, and it's ridiculous. Okay, so. Hobbit is, so where was I? I don't even know, because now my train of thought is completely off. But yeah, so otium, y'all understand why Verum is going with otium? Y'all all kind of like see why that's happening? The endings are the same, right? Once you figure out that Verus means, it's this adjective that means true, okay, there's really nothing else it could be doing except modifying the word next to it that has the same ending. Any questions on this one? Let me actually put up the whole thing. Few today have true peace. Just like last time, our adverb can kind of go anywhere. I'm saying few today have true peace, which you could say few have true peace today. Few have today true peace. No, just kidding. You couldn't say that one. But yeah, there's a couple options for where you put today, and then the rest of it is pretty clear cut. Any questions? Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so remember, again, like when I type up my translation, I'm making certain choices because anytime you like look at a vocabulary where there's always like at the very least, there's like two options. So yeah, true or real. I think they would say proper. But yeah, so like you guys just have to know that like just because you don't have 100% this translation, your translation might still actually be completely correct. Maybe I just like went with like another definition for something than what you went with. But yeah, true or real would be good here. Is there any other so you can also say true leisure or peace or apparent unemployment. Honestly, unemployment is probably what it means sometimes. And then habeo can be have, but can also be what? Anyone? It could be hold or possess. I think have is probably the best way to go here. If you said few hold true peace, that sounds a little weird. Like peace is like an object. but it wouldn't really be wrong. Macy, you don't have a question?
Oh, no.
Okay, so does that answer that, Avery? Any other questions? All right. Cool. Y'all seem pretty calm about this. I had a lot of people coming into my essay yesterday, which was good. I like that, but it made me realize that like this was very hard. So again, you're allowed to have struggled with it. That's perfectly fine. And hopefully you come to class with questions. That's what I kind of look for when something is difficult, which a lot of the time our homework will be. All that I ask is that you show up to class with like at least some questions that will address the things that confuse you. What's that, Maddie? Indeed. Who wants to read this one? This was probably the hardest one because the first word is something I should have reminded you guys about / explained more. Avery, you want to read it? Wait, huh? You're Kylie. Who's Avery?
Nobody. You told me that twice.
Well, it's funny that the first time you were okay with it. You could have told me then. Sorry. You're Kylie, and then Ava's in the corner, and then I think the people farthest away from my desk have go. And what's your name? Is Maddie? You're Maddie. You're Macy. So we have 2 Maddies in here. I knew that. And then who's behind Kylie? Yeah, what's your name? Who? Danny. Okay. Yeah, I need to have this by tomorrow. And you're Riley. I totally knew that. Man. Huh?
He's Jake from State Farm.
You're Jake from State Farm. It's just that I have 6 classes. I bet if I only had 5 classes this year, I'd be like good right now. But okay, sorry. So Kylie, can you read this in Latin, please? Thank you. Yeah, good. Da parvum basium filii belli tuae me amici. Good. What did you get for this? What did you get? Just trying to catch an attitude of Latin class first period. It's crazy. What'd you get? Did you not get something, or? Because again, you can read the Latin and you don't necessarily have to give your translation. But does somebody want to give me what they got for this? Alan? That's really close. It's really close. So that sounds a little more odd than it actually is. This is a kind of a weird one. Again, this book was written back in like the 40s. It's like a 70-plus-year-old textbook. So sometimes we write like there's kind of like old-fashioned sounding sentences in it. But da is the weird thing. So you translated da, Natalie, as what? Like, can I give? Yeah, that's not a bad attempt. So da is from dodare. What do you think, Nathan? What should we do with da? Yeah, it's actually just give because it's an imperative, okay? So I have it here. Dodare means to give. It's the verb that's going to show up anytime we actually have an indirect object because you're usually going to be giving a direct object to an indirect object. So do means I give, das is you give, dot is it gives, dom is we give, etc., so on and so forth. But the imperative, if you're telling someone to give something, is just da. Okay? It almost looks like it's a typo, like it's not even a word. But that is if you're telling one person to give something. If you're telling a bunch of people to give something, it'd be date. Because for plural imperative, you have to add te. So yeah, it's give. We just start the sentence with just straight up give. So Natalie, if you make that tweak, your sentence would almost be right. Where it's just give a direct object instead of like can I give or I give or you give or it gives. It's just straight up give. Okay, so we're gonna give a direct object, right? Do you understand why that's the case? Because it's like a normalish verb, so it's gonna take a direct object. What is our direct object? Anyone? I think Nathan and basically Natalie both kind of knew. Anyone? It's a direct object. What if it's like right where we want it to be, Grace?
Parvium.
Yeah, parvum is modifying the direct object. Parvum is technically an adjective, but just like last time, maybe it's next to the noun it's modifying. So what would that be?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So those are our direct objects. Just like last sentence, we have these 2 words. It's a 2-word accusative noun phrase, and they're both ending in um, which makes it clear that they're going together. I hope the internet people can hear me from back here. But so that's direct object. So just give a small kiss. We want to add a or Yeah, you want to add a here, not the. That would be weird. And then I see Philly I. Look at this. Philly 2I. What the heck do we do with it? What case are all three of those nouns in one? Carson?
I'm gonna say genitive.
Yeah, I think genitive too. Because what?
Genitive thing.
Wait. I'm sorry. So genitive, that'd be like kiss of the something daughter. Is it a kiss? Give a kiss of? So is it genitive? Remember the three things AE can be? It can either be genitive, like Carson thinks it might be. Nominative plural, which sentences with imperative verbs like commands basically don't have subjects. Okay? Or it could be dative, an indirect object, the recipient of a direct object. So which are all three of these together? Natalie? Yeah, they're the indirect object. Really good. So technically, Philly is the direct object, and then she gets two adjectives, not one, but two adjectives for a total of a three-word noun phrase. Pretty crazy. So it's, put it all together, it's give a Parlon Bossium. Anyone who wants to put it all together? Give a small kiss. Nathan? And not just to your daughter, but to your close. Huh? Beautiful daughter. And this is just my friend. Okay?
I got it almost right.
You got it all right? Nice. Good job. Yeah. So hopefully my year 2 students are finding that this is still actually pretty challenging because, I mean, we only got a little further than chapter 4. So since y'all are a little older and the new kids are a little older, we're trying to get to where y'all were like last spring in the span of 1 week. So that's why it might seem challenging. But anyway, what is that? Why does that come down?
Somebody typed something in the chat.
Okay, should I look? I don't know because my sound's on, so that's all I really need to know. So give a direct object to your indirect object, my friend. My friend is just vocative, just like O Romans. It's the person being spoken to. So that's why some of you probably were really mad about me. It's an irregular vocative version of meus, mea, meum. You know how meus, mea, meum means my. This is like the weird vocative version. So sorry about that. They don't say that anywhere in the book, so it's kind of hard to know that. I should have mentioned it. Any questions on this one? Okay, raise your hand if you got pretty close to being correct. Even if you like messed up the verb, because I don't blame you for the verb. The verb is weird, right? No one knew it was imperative. Really?
10 minutes.
Really? Okay, so it's 10 minutes for the video, so that means it's like 15 minutes in the class. I need to figure out something about that, because online kids shouldn't get their class cut off a little bit. All right, what is this, the fourth one? Who wants to read the fourth one? Let's have Nathan. Good, and we always try to read the Latin, so can someone read the Latin also? Macy, thank you.
Okay, but I'm not pronouncing it.
That's fine.
Quid me et exo
Zitio.
exidio me colas.
Cogitas. Yeah, remember that G is always hard. So quid de me et exitio patriae. Sometimes these endings have so many vowels, it's kind of crazy. May I cogitas. And Nathan says he got something like, what do you think about me and the destruction of my father? And I think that's pretty good. Maddie, did you get close to that? I thought I saw you raising your hand, but maybe that was wrong. Kind of?
I said,
Well, no, you got some of it. So questions are weird. I think questions are some of the hardest things to translate. We start off with the word what. We've already seen a question that starts with this word what, quid. And then you basically wanted to skip everything between what until you got your verb and then figure out the person number of the verb. So Jake, what is the person and number of cogitas? First, second, or third person? That would be cogitat or cogitant. It's not third person. Who's the person next to Jake? Name is what? Danny, that's right. What's the person of cogitas? First, second, or third? Yeah, it's second actually. It has that S. O-S-T, mustus int. Second starts with S. So that means our subject is what? Anyone out loud? Anyone? You can just say it.
Well, I had the translations though.
Well, Nathan actually had the correct translation, but what is the subject for a second person verb? Anyone? Kaylin? You. Yep, and y'all can always just speak up when I say out loud. So the subject is you, but we can't just say what you think. What you think would be incorrect, even if that's the way you talk to your friends. We know that doesn't sound like proper grammar. So that's why questions are weird. I've mentioned this before, but you have to add a do or a does for questions. I think that's going to come up here. Do or does. So like, what do you think? And then we can handle the middle part, may, day may, et exidio patria mea. So a couple of things. Day is a preposition that pairs with an object of an ablative, or I'm sorry, with an object. Yeah, an object in the ablative. An ablative object of a preposition, if that makes sense. So anytime you see day or in or sine or prepositions, look for an ablative. I wonder if we have ablatives here. And then another thing you almost couldn't have known, it might be the dictionary entry for may, but may is either in the accusative case, so it's a direct object, or it's in the ablative case. So what are they here? May and exidio, what case are both of them? I basically kind of said what it needs to be, but what are they? What case are they? So that they can be the object of they. So that we're asking about what, quote unquote, you think about may and exidio. Anyone, what case are they? If they're the object of day, Carson?
It would be an ablative.
Yeah, they're ablatives. May is ablative and exidio is ablative. Those are the first ablatives we've seen today, which is exciting. I think yesterday we saw like in the field. Like I saw the son of the sailor in the field or whatever. Here, these are our ablative objects of day. And then last but not least, what is patriae mei? We've seen this case a lot today. What is patriae mei, Riley? What do you think? Patriae mei. The reason I know they go together is because they're like right next to each other and they both end in AE. So what do you think? They're either nominative, plural, genitive, singular, or dative, singular. Good. They're genitive, exactly. Okay. So cogitatus for second person. Those are genitive. That's why it's the destruction of my country or fatherland. So this is what we end up with. There it is. Okay. And there's my note about may. Or when translating a question, that bottom point is actually kind of important when writing the notes. Translating the question, you often need to add do or does to a verb when translating it. Who's taking notes in here? Let's see who's actually taking. Okay, Kaylin is taking really good notes. It looks like Grace at least has some notes out, maybe some stuff for reference. Nathan taking really good notes. Yeah, again, it's like something you do for your own benefit. It's not totally required necessarily, but it's just odd if you're not. It doesn't really make sense to me if you're not taking any notes. All right, let's do this last one. Y'all are probably very fatigued when you got to that. That's very much still like that's a 7th grade mindset. When you're in the 7th grade, you're still at that point where you're like going to class and like willfully not taking notes. I'm sure you'll work through that by the time you're in the high school grades, but it's something you should start now. A habit. It's a good habit to have. Who can read this in Latin, please? I'm not making fun of 7th graders. You guys are really cool. That's not mean. Nathan? Very good. Yeah. Porta antiqua, non est magnus, and bella est. What did you get? And I want to hear what Richard got and Hayden. Well, so let's hear from all three of y'all. What did you get? Maybe not Hayden. Or... Very close. And so make sure you add articles, things like the and So instead of ancient interest, it could be like the ancient interest. So let's hear from a bunch of people. I like to do this once people get more used to translating. They're more willing to share. I want to hear from Jake, maybe Hayden after all, Richard, Kaylin, and Natalie, and Carson. I was like, what? I know your name. But go ahead, Jake.
The ancient door is not great, but it is charming.
Interesting. Okay, very cool. So both Nathan and Jake did pretty good. Aiden, what'd you get?
The ancient gate is large but not pretty.
Is large but not pretty. Yeah, so this is really cool. All three of those are basically 100% correct, and yet all of them are like slightly different. But that's how translating works. Like translating actually involves creativity a little bit and choices in terms of how you define things. All three of those were like fully correct. Natalie, what'd you get?
The old gate is not great, but it is beautiful.
But it is beautiful. Very good. Richard, what'd you get?
The ancient gate is not great, but it is beautiful.
Good. Carlton. No, I'm kidding. Carson.
The antique door is not large, but it is.
Yeah, good. So what's happening here is that you guys are all picking up on the subject. Nothing here is colorful because basically we just have nominatives and adjectives. And then our new verb friend S. And it's non-S, so it is not. But yeah, so Porta Antiqua is the subject. And y'all are translating that as either gate or entrance or maybe door. Door is okay too, honestly. Is not great or large. So for Magna, your choices are great or large. But it is beautiful. So very good. Y'all did a really good job of it, like using S multiple times. It's like it is not great, but it is beautiful. So it's like an old pretty gate. In the future, sometimes you'll see a sentence like this where they don't even write S the second time, and they just expect you to kind of like use S multiple times. Any questions on this one? Does anybody else want to go? No, I didn't skip. Danny, you didn't want to go? I thought I saw you raise your hand for a second. Cool. Any questions on this one? All right, guys, that's a good vocabulary. Internet people, sorry it's about to cut off. All we're going to do is review chapter 1 through 4 vocabulary, which is the quiz you guys will take on Monday digitally, and you're not going to cheat, by the way. But that's all we're going to do for the rest of class. I'll see you. Oh, tomorrow, this will start at 8:30. Okay, online will start at 8:30. Also, go to LTA Snow Day to find all the links. I'm not going to email y'all anymore. I'm going to send like one more email today and never again. Okay, goodbye, online people. What do you got? Let's see here. No, class is not over. Okay. Nope, don't turn it in. I came around and just saw it. So you